What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're doing something a little different. See, way back when I had reviewed the first 50 Shades of Grey movie, for no other reasons than it was topical at the time, and I was looking for a little bit of shock value. But I never actually went back to cover the other two. So I figured now would be as good a time as any to reevaluate the trilogy as a whole and hopefully put it behind me once and for all. So without further ado, 50 Shades of Grey. And I suppose to start, I could tell you that Dakota Johnson has never really been one of my favorite actresses, or that she isn't my personal idea of attractive in a role like this. But I get that they're going for the sort of plain Jane, innocent, naive girl who gets to explore her sexuality and all the freedoms therein. Which, can I just take a second to say that this whole concept would have been enough if we were dealing with somebody who even had a little bit of casual sexual experience. But the fact that Anastasia is a virgin that gets catapulted into the stratosphere of all this is absolutely wild to me. But I get that this is supposed to be the smut version of the nerdy girl who takes off her glasses and was secretly hot the whole time, right? I get that. Just as much as I get the dynamics of their relationship. He's the billionaire playboy who doesn't trust, he doesn't love, he doesn't really have any meaningful relationships outside of his contractual ones, and yet somehow, some way, for whatever reason, Anastasia was specially chosen, plucked from obscurity, if you will, to burrow down to the Tootsie Roll center of the man's heart. I get that. I just don't really give a shit about their romantic relationship. Matter of fact, if I have to place even the smallest nugget of investment in anything, it would have to be Christian Grey's character himself. Of course, on the surface, he's just the hot guy with a whole bunch of money that's into kinky shit that makes all of the smut girlies, or fellas, if that's your bag, go wild. Look a little bit deeper, though, and I get the sense of almost a Bruce Wayne sort of aura about him, which has to be because of the double life, right? He's a successful businessman by day, sexual deviant by night, with a little bit of danger and darkness mixed in there, which intrigues me because I honestly find the correlations between trauma and things like that and certain behaviors in the bedroom, or the idea of taking, negative experiences and turning them into something that is predominantly positive and pleasurable to be pretty fascinating. And there is a little bit of that in there. There is those tidbits of lore about some early experiences with his biological mother, or his adopted mother's friend being his dominant for a number of years. I just don't think I'm as interested in it all this time around. And the primary reason for that would have to be the fact that it's buried under a mountain of the most cringy garbage. Which, by the way, ladies, we have to talk. Y'all have to raise your standards a little bit, because all those little bits of dialogue that he says that steams y'all's clams has to be the most unhinged slop I have ever heard in my life. And our boy just cannot read a room to save his life. You remember the part when he brings her home from the bar because she drank too much, and then she wakes up the next morning and is trying to piece together a timeline of events, and she learns that not only did he undress her, but they slept in the same bed, despite them not actually bumping uglies. And then he just decides it's a good idea to share out loud with the class something to the effect of, if you were mine, you wouldn't be able to sit for a week. Whoa! Where exactly did that come from? Like, the poor girl is just sitting there sipping on a glass of orange juice, and you decide it's a brilliant idea to hit her with that mess? Dude, come on. Calm down. And you know why they do that, right? Exhibit A, the hardware store scene, where Christian is gathering his supplies, and Anastasia suggests to him that he get some coveralls to ensure that he doesn't get paint on his clothes. And he says, basically, I can just take all my clothes off. Wink, wink. Pause. Freeze frame right there. Because it's in that little space, that empty air between his delivery of that gem of a line and her reaction to it, that we can start to hear that macaroni is stirring, gentlemen. And that's pretty much all there is to it. That is the entire point of all of this. Which leads us to 50 Shades Darker. Our wonder couple has broken up because, at the behest of Anastasia, Christian has shown her the dark side of all of this, with how bad the punishments can get. And after he double checks, triple checks that this is something she wants to do, she says yes, because in her words, in order for her to understand, she has to experience it. But wouldn't you know, it all is too much for her. She calls him a sadist, which is important to remember for later, and stick a fork in it, because this whole thing is done. Now, it's at this point that I was pretty confused, because on one part of my brain, I was sitting there going, you know, you wanted this. You asked for this. The entire reason why it even happened is because you pushed the issue. So I'm sorry if it was all too much for you. I'm sorry if you didn't get the love, trust, and pixie dust that you were looking for out of it, but them's the breaks, kid. And then the other half of my brain is going, well, you know, she found her limit. She stuck to it. Good on her. But, you know, that's a hard limit, but none of the other abnormal, creepy shit he does at any other point is. For example, when he decides to buy all of her portraits from the art gallery because he can't stand the thought of strangers gawking at her. Or when he claims to have been interested in the publishing business for a long time and just so happens to purchase the company that she works for. How about when he somehow obtains her banking information without her uh, consent or knowledge. Or the fact that he keeps pretty elaborate, detailed portfolios of all of his past subs. And if that doesn't do it for you, then the absolute icing on this butt plug would have to be the part when she watches this man disarm one of his crazy exes who has a gun by commanding her to get on her knees in front of him while petting her, and she uh, uh, um, continues to refer to him as master. Oh, and you know the part a little bit ago when I said she freaked out because he was a sadist or whatever? Yeah, well, he full on admits it now. He basically says, I'm not a dom, I'm a sadist who punishes women who look like or remind me of my mother in any way. And that right there changes this entire game for me, right? Now, look, I already wasn't Christian's biggest fan in this movie because he's doing the whole, like, I don't do any of this normal relationship stuff, and that's just how I am. That's how it goes. Like, you have a brother who thinks you're a tool. Your parents don't know about your extracurriculars because, understandably, you don't tell them. Uh, and all of this probably could have been prevented if you would have used a little bit of your money to go to therapy. So you're not that cool, and you're not that mysterious, my guy. But let me explain to you what makes this so supremely disgusting to me. Because his admittance of this, not being a dom, but actually a sadist who punishes women, in my mind, shifts this whole thing and causes it to lean away from mutual gratification through sexual exploration between two consenting adults, and more into him using all of that money and all of that power to abuse and manipulate women. His whole game at that point is breaking down the will of these women, so far as they completely submit themselves to him in every conceivable way, under what I assume would have to be the guise of love or the desire for a deeper connection or a more committed relationship, something like that. And instead, him just throwing them away, completely discarding them, and moving on to the next thing. But hey, that's all cool now. It's all alright because he admitted that to her. He opened up to her. So when you really think about it, why wouldn't she agree to be engaged to the guy? Which leads us to 50 Shades Freed. If you're keeping tabs, our girl has gone from contractual fuck buddy to steady girlfriend to wife. So mazel tov for that. The conversation about kids comes up, to which Christian basically says that he's not interested because, one, he's not ready to share her with anyone, and two, he's afraid that that baby will kind of overshadow him and take precedence above him. Which like, I get that all of this is, you put him at the bottom, so he's got a place to go, right? It's all about character development. It's all about growth. And I completely understand the whole not wanting kids thing. I don't have a problem with that. I get it. It's fine, whatever. But his reasons for it have to be the most toxic, unhealthy red flag that you could possibly come up with. And you know what? I do have to give Anastasia some flowers at this point for the bit where she basically says to him, I don't remember the exact speech, but basically it's the bit where she's like, yeah, when the baby comes, he or she is gonna have precedence above you because that's what good parents do. And I'm not ready to be a mom any more than you're ready to be a dad, but I'm prepared to raise this baby in love and happiness with or without you, which hands down has to be the most intelligent thing she says in this entire trilogy. So golf clap for her. Beyond that, I would have to say that 50 Shades Freed is almost an actual movie. And I was vaguely interested in the whole kidnapping suspense part. Now, yeah, I would have liked it to be a little bit better thought out and a little bit stronger, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, right? But then I guess they get their happy ending and live happily ever after with the baby, which personally I don't really love because I think Christian is just a massive creep and a piece of shit, and he just doesn't deserve it, but I digress. But there you have it. My thoughts on the entire 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, start to finish. So with that being said, that is going to wrap this video up, guys. So as always, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.